Hey, hello everyone. This is Chad Schwartz with Anarchapulco here, and I'm just jumping on here now to do a very quick review of the movie, The Jones Plantation. I just want to share my thoughts and feelings about the movie with you guys today. So, for those of you who don't know anything about The Jones Plantation, I'm just going to share a couple of snippets here with you and give you my thoughts about the movie. So, the Jones Plantation was a story written several years ago by Larkin Rose, and then Drew Treglia, the film director, got the idea to turn it into a feature film, and it was released a week ago, and I thought it was absolutely incredible. So I just wanted to share some stuff with you about it. And basically, the premise of the movie is it takes place on a slave plantation in the 1800s, and the slave plantation owner is doing some experimenting with some new methods of controlling the minds of the slaves. And basically, a rundown of the story is that the slaves are basically told one day, they said, "Oh, congratulations, you're now free, and you're going to be paid this fiat paper money for all of your work, and you're going to get to vote and decide on who the plantation owner is going to be," and all this crazy stuff. And in all reality, the people are still slaves. They can't go anywhere, and they're being manipulated. And basically, this movie, the whole thing is just a giant allegory and a reflection on how the ruling class really operates in our world, and basically how the ruling class manipulates the minds of their subjects, which is us. And so basically, this film, it's really interesting. It's very groundbreaking. I really love the way they explore the psychology and sociology of important topics such as divide and conquer and how the ruling class benefits from that, and other things like fear-based mind control and the effect that that has on society. So basically, the gist of the characters and story, the main character here is Mr. Smith, and you see him here. And Mr. Smith is a former slave, and now he's a free man, and his job is basically to help slave owners have better control over their slaves. So even the name Mr. Smith sort of comes from the word blacksmith or metalsmith, somebody who's able to mold things and shape things. And this guy considers himself a bender and breaker of slaves. Um, So yeah, as you can see, he's an African American, and the movie, it's not a typical Hollywood movie because normally movies like this, it's just showing mean, terrible white people doing bad things to non-white people. But this film really breaks that sort of trend and shows the more accurate history that most of the history of slavery in the world was not based on race. That's more of a very recent thing in human history. Um, so, for example, you'll see like a white indentured servant in this movie, and then Mr. Smith, the villain, the guy controlling the slaves, he's black. So they're breaking some new ground here with that, which is more historically accurate. And this movie is just peppered with incredible lines that are very true of the real world, explaining how power and the ruling class really operate. But there's one specific line in the movie here where Mr. Smith, he's right here and he's handling the snake, and he's using the metaphor of if you give the snake the illusion that it can move around, then it feels like it doesn't need to resist. So he basically compares the snake to the human mind, that if you give it this if you try to grab it and control it, it will fight back. But if you give it the illusion that it can move around and move freely, it will not resist. So that one scene there is incredible, and the acting in this movie is just mind blowing. Now, this movie, there's an undertone and there's a lot of parody in this movie. So it's a very dark and serious topic, but the actual movie itself has a lot of basically satire and parody, just giving this ridiculous reflection of our modern political world. So we see here Mr. Smith, he's giving this pledge of allegiance that he's written for the slaves to read out loud. These slaves who now think they're free, but they're reading this pledge of allegiance. And anybody watching this, if you're American like I am, you were forced to say the Pledge of Allegiance every day, which is just this ridiculous, very poetic way of repeating every day that you'll obey the US government. So the Pledge of Allegiance, they say, I pledge allegiance to the Republic, and you're basically saying in a very poetic way, you'll just do whatever the government tells you. And so the film really pokes a lot of fun at that. Very interesting. Another thing that the movie does very well is it sort of reflects our current monetary system. So the slaves, they use this fiat paper money called JPCs, Jones Plantation Credits. And yeah, I'm not going to get too deep into it. I'm just going to say that there was one scene where the real slave owner, Mr. Jones, he catches on to what Mr. Smith is trying to do with these credits. He says, "Oh, so we're going to go from being their owners to their bankers." So this is literally a reflection of the money that we use today. And so the film does a really good job illustrating that. And here's another scene that I liked. Mr. Smith, he makes up this lie that there's this beast out in the wilderness and the slaves have to stay close to the plantation and don't go anywhere and follow some new rules. And Mr. Jones, he's this idiot who runs the plantation. He believes about the beast and Mr. Smith, and he runs to get his rifle, like he's going to go off and fight the beast. And Mr. Smith is just here laughing at him, saying, "You idiot! There's no beast out there." This was a cool theme. A similar theme was in a movie a couple years ago. There was a movie called The Village by M. Night Shyamalan, and it had the same sort of topic. The villagers have to listen to the elders and do as they're told because there's this monster out there. And in reality, it's just a show. So that was another really good theme that the movie played off of, the fear-based social control. And one of the funny scenes in this movie, well, there's many funny little parodies in the movie, but this one is the funniest. They have this little mock election and they get these two guys to basically run for plantation owner and see who's going to be the one who gets chosen to be the plantation owner, giving the slaves the illusion that they can vote and choose who their master is going to be, just like in the real world today. And now Larkin Rose, he plays this indentured servant, so he's an extra in the movie, and you might notice he's wearing a blue armband. So after they tell the slaves they're free, they say, "Oh, but there's going to be a couple of you who are going to be enforcers. You're going to be the police, the people there to protect and serve," as the movie says. And just like in the real world, people who actually think that the police and military and the US government, if you think they're actually there to protect and serve you, you just have not been paying attention. And the movie does another very good job there of portraying that. What else? So yeah, I'm not going to get into every detail. I just wanted to show you that stuff. One thing that the movie did incredibly well was the acting. The acting really exceeded all the expectations that I had. Because it's an independent movie, I was expecting good acting, but I wasn't expecting these incredible performances that Mr. Jones and Mr. Smith and Samuel pulled off. It was just absolutely stunning. You'll see it when you watch it. Also, something I liked at the end of the movie, the outro to the movie, there was a hip hop song by an artist named Diesel Automatic. I had never heard of the guy before, but he's absolutely incredible. So I've been listening to him the last couple of days. So thanks to the movie, I know who Diesel Automatic is now. And someday soon, I'm going to do a deep dive into this. If you've ever seen Mark Passio's breakdown of The Matrix, Mark Passio, basically for an hour, he just explores the whole concept of the movie The Matrix, and I'm going to do that for this movie as well. And this is definitely a new cult classic, and someday I think it will break into the mainstream and start to win hearts and minds, but I think it's going to take a couple of years for that to happen. So yeah, there's a link to this movie in the description below. So if you want to watch it, please do. And if you want to do a short review just like this, it could be a minute-long review or whatever. And please send the review to larkin@larkinrose.com and share the review video on social media and wherever you can, because we just need some help getting this movie out there and spreading it to the world. So thank you very much for listening to me, and I will see you guys in the next video where I do a deep dive into some of these psychological themes and social themes that this movie is portraying here. I'll see you next time.